G'day folks, welcome back. This food forest of mine will be turning 2 in December 2025. And honestly, it feels like it was only just yesterday we were putting all the little seedlings and trees in and hoping that they're all going to grow. And now it's starting to look and feel like a forest. Of course, there's been a few adventures on the way, as you might be able to see in the background, like the orc raiding party, better known as my chickens. They break through the barricades every so often, scratch up my seedlings and my trees. But every setback becomes a part of the story. When we began, the goal was to get the pioneer trees in first. They're the fast growing soil improvers, shade makers. So we planted acacias, tree lucerne and she oaks as our main pioneers. So these guys are your workhorses, they're your nitrogen fixing. They drop your leaf litter and they shade everything beneath. Alongside them, we planted a few of the tougher fruit trees for our subtropical climate. Citrus, mangoes, and a mix of Australian natives to keep things balanced. But 2 years on, you can really see the upper canopy forming. It's cooler under here, the soil holds more moisture, and the space already feels more like a forest than a garden. Beneath the canopy, we've got the understory, the shrubs and the small trees. This is where it starts to get exciting because this is where most of the diversity lives. We've tucked in apples, finger limes, some caliandras for flowers and the bees, pomegranates, coffee, guavas, and a couple of figs, including a sandpaper fig, which is a hardy native. There's also some native saltbush, some native thyme, native currants, a Davison plum, and a few nitrogen fixing plants and shrubs like the purple pea bush, and I've been planting some cowpea, which is really good here in the subtropics. So these are all doing double duties basically. They're food, forage, flowers and fertility. It's like the bustling village under the great hall of the canopy. Everyone has a role and together they keep the system humming along.
then right at ground level, the ground covers do the real unsung hero work. These are the plants that shield the soil, keep moisture in, and stop weeds from moving in. Here we've got some nasturtiums sprawling about, some lemongrass clumping up nicely, comfrey, some borage, they do all the mineral mining work for us, and some clover fixing the nitrogen. So instead of baking bare soil with sun, we've got the living carpet of green. Flowers for pollinators, food for the soil, and in some cases food for us too.
One of the best parts of the food forest is watching the wildlife return and slot themselves into the system. We even have wallabies passing through now and then. Clearly they're checking out the buffet. And just this year we had a pair of noisy minor birds build their nest right here. You can see they raised 2 little chicks, and each day I watched the parents dart about and into the food forest, catching grubs and insects and feeding their little chicks. They were doing the pest control for me, working the night shift. I didn't even have to pay for them. It's these little connections, the wallabies grazing, the birds keeping balance, that reminds you that this is bigger than just gardening. It's an ecosystem waking back up. So, what's been working well? The canopy's thriving, the shrubs are settling in, and we're already getting flowers and fruit from some of the plants earlier than I expected. The ground covers are doing their job when the chickens let them, and the soil feels alive. But not everything's been smooth sailing. The orc raiding party. My chickens are still my biggest challenge. They scratch at the tree roots. They gobble up all the cover crop seeds even before they sprout, and they truly like my little seedlings when I plant them. At the same time though, they're brilliant pest control. They turn over the soil and they eat like ticks, grasshoppers and bugs basically. It's a constant balancing act, trying to protect the forest so it can grow, but also at the same time letting the chickens do their part as pest warriors, as you would say. I'm still working at what is the best way to manage them, and I reckon that that's a journey most permaculturists can relate to. So where do we go from here? Over the next year, I'll be adding climbers, pepper vines, maybe even some vanilla to the vertical spaces into the canopy. Also, I'm going to be bringing in a lot more of the native flower plants to support the bees and the pollinators. And a big focus will be adding more chop and drop plants. So I can cut them back again and again to build mulch, build soil, and keep the system thriving. It's never finished. Never is. It'll just keep growing layer by layer every year. So here we are, nearly 2 years in, and you can see it. Layers forming, wildlife moving in, challenges and all. And that's the real story of a food forest. It's not a garden you control. It's a living system you grow with. So, if you've enjoyed this tour, don't forget to like and subscribe. Otherwise, Gandalf himself might show up at your door demanding a second breakfast. And trust me, you do not want to get in between a wizard and his bacon and eggs.